Well, B, I've decided to take tomorrow off, which is why I'm up writing this. And it's not copy pasta, or not yet. Anyways, I work at a fast food place. It's a local thing, so I won't bother mentioning the name. I was just about ready to close up shop. Everyone else had already left when I noticed a little girl walking around outside. She was just sort of loitering, walking around in circles. I didn't really get a good look at her, but I continued with closing procedures. After I had locked the safes and checked and double-checked this and that, I noticed she was still out there. She was just sitting in the rain. I figured she must be lost, so I decided to do my good civilian duty and help her out. Upon going out there, I got a good look at her. She looked to be around 7 years old, with short black hair, page boy style, like Ray. I didn't really know her ethnicity. She looked pale white but had some Asian features. Her clothes, a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, hardly fitting attire for the weather, were tattered, dirty, soaked, and it looked like she had been wearing them for quite some time. And she didn't smell like roses and candy either. She had her face in her knees, just sort of lightly sobbing, and she didn't seem to notice me even though I was fairly close to her, until I finally said, "Hey." Then she looked up, and I could clearly see she was blind. This startled me a bit, and now I felt bad. I just let some blind, defenseless girl cry outside of my store while I went about my business. Unlike most betards, I have some conscience, and I asked her if she wanted to come in out of the rain. She got up, and I led her into the store. I asked her if she wanted something to eat, and she nodded her head yes. She didn't answer about what she wanted though, and that's when it hit me again. "Can you talk?" I asked her, to which she shook her head no and started to sob a bit more. I put my hand on her shoulder, not pervertedly, and said, "It's okay. I'll make you something nice." She dried her tears a bit and I fixed her a sub. I gave it to her and she devoured it. Since her clothes were in terrible shape and she acts like she hasn't eaten in forever, I asked her my third question. "Do you have a home?" To which she again gave a meek no. I didn't want to see her cry again, so I told her I'd take her back to my apartment. And no, once again, I wasn't trying to stick it in the pooper. So, in that very short amount of time, I now had this little girl accompanying me home, and I was thinking that she probably should have been snatched up by pedophiles by now being out on the street. She's tattered and dirty, but still pretty underneath. I took her out to my car and buckled her into the front seat next to me. I think I could tell at that point she wanted more to eat. On the car ride to my place, I didn't really know what to say, so I was generally quiet. I asked her if she had any parents, to which she responded no, so I suppose they're dead. I asked her how old she was, and she stuck up 8 fingers. I was close, and every once in a while I would put my arm on her back and rub it a bit, trying to be comforting. I don't really think she noticed or cared. Obviously, some bad shit has happened to her, and for all she knows, she could end up in my glove box. Of course, maybe 8-year-olds don't think thoughts like that. Only betards like me. We arrived at my apartment, and I walked in with her. My roommate Luke was up in the living room playing Xbox 360 online, and he just gave me a raised eyebrow. Luke wouldn't suspect me of being a pedophile or a serial killer, but one of us bringing an 8-year-old home isn't normal. So I told her to go into the kitchen and eat whatever she wants, and I'll go have a talk with Luke. I gave her a gentle nudge in the direction of the kitchen and she went in. They're connected except for a little counter thing between them. He turned off the 360. "So, what's going on?" I found her outside of place where I work." "So you brought her home?" "She's blind, mute, and she doesn't have any parents or a place to stay." "Okay, but she's sleeping in your room." And with that, he turned his 360 on again. We were friends, but we made it a priority not to pry into each other's business. I went back into the kitchen to find my Loli friend sitting down with a bag of chips she found. I realized that I forgot she's blind and had no idea what my kitchen's layout was. I asked her if she wanted something else, and she nodded her head yes. I thought of the only thing I could and grabbed a paper and pencil. I put the pencil in her hand and pressed it down on the paper. I had no idea if she could write or not, but she wrote down a rough, sort of scribbly word which I made out to be sandwich. So I put together a sandwich with anything I could find, salami, cheese, etc. I didn't think she would be a picky eater. She inhaled it pretty much, and it was at this point I remember she smelled like somebody had used her hair to clean their colon. She needed a bath, and since she was blind, I would have to be the one to give it to her. I said, "How about we get you clean?" And she nodded yes. I wondered how long it had been since she'd bathed. Luke looked back at me and just shook his head, so I put my hands up in the sort of, well, what else am I supposed to do motion and followed her into the bathroom. I peeled her clothes off of her and put them on the ground for later burning. I grabbed the soap and washed her. She didn't seem to object to me doing this. I got her as thoroughly clean as I could, and I could tell she was getting very tired. I dried her off and her eyes were shutting, so I carried her to my room. Walking out of the bathroom carrying a naked Loli in my arms, Luke gave me another look. A look like, man, I've been minding my business all night, but what the hell is going on? I paid him no mind and carried her to my room. I put a pair of my boxers on her and a t-shirt of mine and laid her on my bed. I put the quilt over her and she settled immediately into the bed. She looked like she was the most comfortable she'd been in a very long time. I didn't know where she had been sleeping for the past bit, but it probably wasn't ideal. I sat down on the edge of the bed and popped my shoes off and just let out a sigh. Not really of frustration, I was just disillusioned with what was going on. I went out of the room and turned the light off. She was already fast asleep by now and went out to Luke. We played some Perfect Dark and discussed some chick, ignoring the obvious topic. After I got finished with him, I realized this was probably B's specialty and I decided to write it up. I don't really know what I should do with her. I was considering taking her to the police station, but I began wondering, why would she run away from home? Maybe she has some physically or sexually abusive father at home who's just going to go and claim her and beat her and molest her again. She said her parents were dead, but that might not be entirely true, and I began wondering if I technically kidnapped her. She could just be some kid that ran away, and if her parents raised a ruckus, I could get in trouble for doing a good deed. I hope not. I do need to get some sleep though, so I'll be going to bed soon. I've decided to take the day off tomorrow to figure out who she is, and I think she might have a little cold. I sound like a mother already. So yeah, no pooper sticking. Sorry for wasting your time, B. Erica slept soundly in my bed and drooled all over my pillow. I was up till 6:30 talking to B-Tard, so that's when I went to bed. And no, I didn't crawl in bed with her. I slept on the floor beside of her. Suddenly, I wake up feeling a little foot on my stomach. I realize that it's Erica, who's awake and out of bed, and stepped on me, still sleeping on the floor. You're stepping on me. She realizes this, and sits back down on the bed. I sit down beside her and look at the clock. It's 8 a.m., as in way too fucking early since I skipped work today. Did you sleep well? She gave me a thumbs up in response. I wiped some of the drool off of her chin and put my arm around her and led her to the bathroom, since I had to go and I thought she might too. We both went and headed out to the kitchen. I could hear Luke bellowing in the shower, or as he calls it, singing. Luke comes out in a towel, which is odd for him since he usually just comes out naked. And for the record, Luke and I are not gay. We're just old buddies. Like brothers. He feels comfortable around me, and without him, I wouldn't have a place to stay, and neither would Erica. In the kitchen, Erica was sneezing a bit. She probably had a cold from being out in the rain last night in her tattered clothes. I grabbed some tissues and let her blow into them. Luke emerged from his room with some boxers on. Again, I think he's forgetting Erica is blind and can't actually see him. Good morning, San Francisco. We don't live in San Francisco. Luke just says odd things. Hey Luke, how about making us some breakfast? Sure, I've got a bit before I head out. Don't you have to get going though? Nah, I'm actually taking the day off. Since when do you skip work? I want to spend some time with our guest today. At that moment, Erica's face sort of lit up a bit, like she was surprised somebody wants to spend time with her. Of course, the real reason is that I had to figure out what to do with her, which made me sad. Luke cooked up some eggs and bacon, and I made some toast and served it to her. She kept eating, and we kept dishing it out. As she was eating, she looked really happy to have it. It made me happy, and I could tell Luke liked it too. After breakfast, Luke rushed to put on deodorant. He smells like dog's asshole without it. Feed his dog, who finally got his fat ass off of the couch for some food. I make fun of Luke's dog's weight problems, but I do like him. Put his work clothes on and leave. This left me alone with Erica. I didn't really want to jump into asking her questions just yet, so I decided to watch some TV with her. We both sat down on the couch, and she must have still been pretty tired since she rested her head on my shoulder. I flipped to various things. Lazy Town, game shows, Terminator. She didn't really care what we watched. She could only hear the dialogue anyways, so I imagine she just made her own stories to go with it. I'm pretty sure that she's watched, and yes, I know she can't really watch anything. I'm just using that for lack of a better verb. TV before. After a bit, I decided that I should know what's going on. I turned the TV off and asked Erica if we could talk a bit. Talking for her being writing on paper. She gave me a thumbs up, and I grabbed a notebook and a pen for her and asked about her parents, what happened, why she's out on the street, and I'll spare you the whole back and forth from here, but here's what I've learned. Her parents and little sister died from some accident. She didn't tell me what. She was put in a children's home, but the conditions there were bad enough to make her want to run away from it, so she did. She was out on the street. I don't really know how long, but probably not too long or she'd have starved before I found her. So I wondered what was going on at the children's home to make her want to run away. Maybe the other kids bullied her for being blind and mute. Maybe nobody wanted to adopt her and she felt neglected. Maybe the staff was abusive. So she's basically a runaway, but she has a strong aversion to going back to any home. At this point though, my heart was going, aww, but my brain was like, don't do this, you'll get raped in jail by a big guy named Bubba Lump Jackson. But my heart was winning. So at the current moment, I have yet to call child services and I don't really know if I should. I'm considering maybe calling them to see about adoption, but in the meantime she'd probably have to go back to another children's home and she'd dislike me for it. After a few questions, she started crying, so I gave her a nice big hug. Hey, it's okay. You don't have to tell me anymore if you don't want to. Let's go watch more TV. I dried her tears and I turned the TV on again. We continued watching for a bit and then I decided on doing something. I left her on the couch for a bit and went out and got my laptop. I opened up a notepad. I was going to teach her how to type so our communication would be easier, and maybe someday she could buy one of those portable voice synthesizers or something. Since she can't see the keys, I decided on teaching her this way. She hits a key, I tell her what she hit. Eventually, she'll memorize the layout of the keyboard in her mind. First, I went through all of the keys and pressed her finger down on them and told her what it was. She had never used a computer before and found it weird. Then I had her press random keys and told her it was so she could get a feel for where the keys were in relation to each other. Then I told her to press a certain key and she had to press it. She got a few right, but most of them she forgot. I tried to have her type cat, which she needed help with. I could tell she was getting bored with it though. So I let her watch TV and signed on AIM to talk to a B-tard or two. It was about 1:30 then, so I decided it was time for some lunch. She still had a bit of a cold, so the perfect cold food is soup, right? Except we didn't have any soup, so I made her a microwave pizza. I'm not a brilliant chef. We both chowed down on it though, and she seemed satisfied, getting pizza sauce all over her. I cleaned it off and had another idea. The famous Mortal Kombat player Fatality was blind, right? So why couldn't Erica play some? I powered up our Sega Genesis and gave her a controller. She held it oddly, having really no idea what to do with it. I made my best effort to teach her a bit, but I didn't really think she understood it. She just pressed buttons. So, yeah, my attempt to transform her into an ass-kicking Loli Mortal Kombat player didn't work out so well, which I probably should have known. She was perfectly content to listen to me play though. She seemed to be having a bit of fun, really. After that, my next idea hit me. Music. I grabbed the notebook again and asked her if there was any music she liked. She wrote down some usual kid stuff, pop and such, but I gladly downloaded it and played it for her. Then I played her a bit of my music, which she didn't really like. That's okay, not many people share my taste in music. I could tell she was still a bit sleepy, not having gotten a good sleep for a while. How about a nap? She nodded her head, and I picked her up and carried her to my room. I let her down on my bed. Good night. I went out and did some things, enjoying my day off and such. Around 5, Luke came home, which means I had to talk to him about the situation. He sat down, and he could seemingly tell what I wanted to discuss. So, what'd you find out about her? I told him the story, as much as I knew, and I could tell his heart was going, "Aww," too. But dude, we don't have the money. Yeah, we do, Luke. If you cut down on the video games and Gundam models and shit, maybe we can sell Kaji. Kaji is his dog. Yes, he named it after an anime character. Kaji, who was lazing in the corner, looked up at me, as if he knew I was talking about him. Luke sighed. I could tell I had him right where I wanted him. Finish him. I walked Luke to my room, right where she was sleeping. So, Luke, can you honestly tell me that this little girl has to leave? She obviously hated it at the children's home. If she goes back, she might just run away again. I mean, anything could happen to her. She could get sick. She could get picked up by a pedophile. She's not already picked up by a pedophile. Shut your mouth, Luke. I knew I had just given Luke the fatality, though. He couldn't look at her sleeping and think about giving her away. Alright, we'll see how it works out. Luke and I went out and played some Xbox for a bit, discussing his girl life again. He told me he had a date tomorrow with a chick named Melinda. I hoped she wasn't crazy. I kid Luke about dating crazy chicks. But really, the only thing is, he once dated a fursuiter and brought her home. I don't really want him exposing Erica to any perversions. Don't bring her home if she's dressed like a fox, okay? Hey, at least I get some ass. That was true. I was lacking in the ass department. Not that Luke is the ass master. He continued, how about that one chick at work who's on your dick? You get with her yet? Yeah, she's coming over tomorrow. The chick in question was Megan, a girl who works at the same place I do. She's the girlfriend of the boss's son, and only 15. She wasn't working tomorrow, so I wanted to have her babysit, because I had to go out to work. Wait a second. I was kidding. You can't date a 15-year-old. I'm kidding too. I just wanted to babysit. I think she has a small crush on me, so she'll do it for free, I thought. Erica woke up around 7 when Luke and I were making dinner. Nothing fancy. Luke and I usually live on mac and cheese. Erica still delighted in it though. Luke did the usual dinner discussion. Anime, video games, work, stuff Erica would have no idea about. I tried to include her in the conversation, getting the notebook and asking her some questions. And nothing heavy, just general stuff. She wants to be a vet when she grows up. Usual kid stuff. Since she liked dogs, I told her she should play with Kaji. She hadn't known the whole time that Kaji was even in our apartment, since he's a quiet dog, which is why we're allowed to keep him. She played fetch with Kaji using a rope-like toy, but he got pretty tired after about the second or third throw. He's a chunky, lazy fellow. Like master like dog, right? He just sat on the couch with her as she pet him, enjoying the attention. Eventually, we found out she likes checkers. She had memorized the layout of the board to play. She wrote that her dad taught her, and this made her a bit sad to think about it. I cheered her up by pulling out a board, and we played. She totally beat me. When I had one piece left, she felt the board for where it was. She smiled when she found it, and jumped it. We turn one color all to king side, so she can differentiate between the two colors. Luke was a bit more of a challenge for her. All of those strategy RPGs he plays must enhance his board game skills. He ended up beating her twice, but she seemed to enjoy the challenge. She wrote that she'd beat him next time, and gave him the finger across the throat death motion. In the meantime, I went to call Megan, who offered her services pro bono. We watched a bit more TV. Luke was in his room working on his novel. That boy ain't right. I went to shower, and then I bathed her again. She didn't need as much help as last time. I can imagine she was getting used to the layout of my place. Kaji came in while she was bathing to drink some water out of the toilet. He also took the time to sniff my butt, which amused Erica when I told her what he was doing. I let her dry herself off, and fetched another pair of boxers and a t-shirt for her to put on. Tomorrow I get paid, and I'm going to go buy her some clothes and some sort of gift. I carried her to my bedroom and laid her down. I stroked her forehead a bit, and then said goodnight. I'm now at my desk. She's now sleeping on my bed, drooling again. She's been tossing and turning every so often, possibly having nightmares. So, B, now you can tell me I'm a moron and I'm going to jail to get raped, or say stick it in the pooper. Also, give me gift and clothing ideas. Also, if you want to aim me, just go into the AIM chat room Blindmute chat. A B-tard made it last night. I'm unoriginal1245. Hello, B. It's the faggot with the Blindmute girl no one cares about, back with thread numero trace. Threads 1 and 2 are indexed. I had to go to work today, so I set my alarm clock. It went off, and I woke up. Erica, who was laying next to me on the bed, no, there was no pooper sticking or any other sticking that occurred, hand was on my face like some sort of death grip. I pulled it off and she woke up. I told her to go back to sleep, that I had to head off to work. She rolled back over and I hopped in the shower. Luke was already gone for work, going in early or something, so I just got ready and went. I called Megan, who said she was on her way, and I told her the key to the apartment was under the doormat. Then I went to my job, and, well, worked. Nothing special. I got off work and headed to my next destination. I was going to buy Erica some sort of gift. I had pretty much already decided on a stuffed animal, and then clothes, since wearing mine forever wasn't good. I bought her a nice teddy bear, usual brown, cute little guy you get. Then I bought her some clothes, which was sort of an odd experience because buying her clothes included underwear, and a guy my age buying little girls' underwear seemed a bit pervy. I bought her some jeans and some skirts, not really knowing what she liked. No schoolgirl outfits. Then I bought her a few shirts. I don't really think she'll be too picky about her dress though, since she can't even see it. Not that blind people like to dress like morons. I come home, and Luke is already out on his date. Megan is with Erica, and apparently they've been doing the usual girl stuff. Erica has makeup on, and Megan did her hair or something. At least Megan managed to keep the girl alive. I made sure Erica was fed, and then asked to talk to her privately in the kitchen. Now, obviously, I can't keep this girl forever illegally, or for very much longer at all. So I had to discuss with her the situation. It's hard to explain to a kid legal things, but I tried my best. I told her that I have to call child services tomorrow, and that she'll go back to a children's home. I asked her if she wanted to perhaps be adopted by me, making me her dad, and she agreed. She started crying when I told her that to officially do that, I would have to send her back for a bit. I told her I could go to jail, that I wanted to keep her, but I just couldn't yet, and that I'd try to complete all the stuff to adopt her as soon as possible, that I made her promise she wouldn't try to run away anywhere she goes again, and that I'd visit her wherever I could. It actually went better than I thought, and she wasn't really mad at me, and if all goes well, I could be adopting her as soon as that's possible. To cheer her up, I showed her all of the clothes and gifts I bought. She tried them all on, showing Megan and I what they looked like. They made her a bit happier. I think she still likes looking good, even if she can't really know what it means to look good. Also, she liked the bear. She's been clutching it since I gave it to her. I hoped that where she goes next, she'll be able to keep me on her mind with it. At this point, I ask Megan when her ride is coming to pick her up, and then she informs me that nobody's coming. What? I could instantly tell something malicious was going on here. Megan apparently called her mother and told her that she was staying at a friend's house. I would drive her home myself, but Luke took our only car for his date, and he won't be home until late. So that puts me in a precarious position. If I call her parents, that leaves them wondering why I would agree to let a 15-year-old girl stay the night in the first place. Of course, it may not be malicious. She just told them she wanted to have a little slumber party with Erica. I'm in my room, with sleeping Erica, trying to avoid Megan, who's watching TV. I'm planning on calling child services tomorrow, and I don't plan on doing any pooper sticking to Megan. Getting convicted of statutory rape isn't the best way to up your prospects for adopting an 8-year-old. Also, once again, if you want to aim me or whatever, you can just join the AIM chat, Blindmute chat. We have free blow. My aim is unoriginal 1245. Hey, it's Blindmute Loli guy back with more. The first 3 threads can be found here. Anyways, a recap of the events that took place last night after the events mentioned in the 3rd thread. I played a little hide and seek with Megan, trying to avoid her, eventually taking my last refuge in Luke's room. At this point, she stopped beating around the seductive bush and asked me specifically why I wouldn't fuck her. So I told her that I was trying to adopt Erica and that statutory rape isn't a good idea, and while I'm doing this, I'm backed into a corner like a cowering dog. She starts approaching me, and I'm thinking she doesn't care what I have to say, and that if she gets any closer, I might just push her down on Luke's bed and take her right there. I'm weak-willed, but I try. Instead, she just gives me a small kiss on the cheek and says, maybe some other time. Once she leaves to go back to bed, with one stroke, I come all over Luke's floor. A little while later, Luke's home. His date with Melinda went well. They had a great time. They got along and he got her in bed, and once he was there, he couldn't get an erection. Poor Luke. Anyways, that's all that happened last night, all of which Erica slept peacefully through holding her bear. I went to sleep late again last night, having no work, and it seemed like instantly after I fell asleep on the couch, I was getting woken up by somebody, and once again, it was way too fucking early. Somebody was on top of me, none other than Megan. I opened my eyes and looked up at her. She wasn't really making me horny. I was more just groggy and annoyed. Didn't we discuss this already, Megan? I'm just making sure you wake up to drive me home before my parents do. Great. So I got up and she got dressed and I drove her home. In the car, I asked her what her birthday was. August 1st. For, you see, Megan is now 15. In Ohio, the age of consent is 16. You see where I'm going with this. I had more important matters to handle today, though. I didn't bother going back to sleep. And Erica woke up. She wasn't very happy, as she knew I was going to child services. I made her some breakfast and tried to cheer her up, but it wasn't really working. I woke Luke up, at which point I had to explain the large semen stain on his floor. His only comment was nice. He said he had to go see Melinda about something though, so he couldn't help me clean the house. I wanted to make sure it was presentable if somebody from child services came to pick Erica up, so while she listened to the TV, I went around and cleaned the house. Took down some of Luke's more embarrassing and or obscene collectibles and did some general cleaning. About mid-morning, I finally called. They said they would come down to identify her and pick her up. I called Luke and told him it would be nice if he could interrupt his date with Melinda to come back to the apartment, so he could be here when child services came, being that he would be the adoptive father of Erica for now. I'm not old enough to apply for adoption. I'm only 19. A nice-looking, and I don't mean pretty, I mean she looked like she would be a generally kind person, Lady showed up and identified that it was indeed the same Erica that they were looking for. They discussed with us what had transpired, and surprisingly, I didn't really get much reprimanding for keeping her as long as I did. She actually thanked me for taking care of Erica. Erica was uncomfortable. She sat as close to me as she could on the couch, like nobody would take her away if she got close enough. I told her or rather Luke, wanted to possibly adopt Erica. And then, at this point, Luke chimed in, "We're in the process of moving." So, I'm thinking Luke's a fucking moron and that lying isn't going to help our cause. He tells the lady that we're in the process of moving into a large house with another occupant, that occupant being Melinda. I have no idea what he's talking about. The lady, Sharon was her name, told us our situation. She said that for the moment, Erica would have to go back into state custody. However, being that Erica has expressed a strong interest in remaining with us, the lack of interest in her from other potential adopters and the fact that Luke is old enough would make us potential candidates for adoption. She said that we could also possibly gain temporary custody over Erica while they made a decision. However, the following conditions would have to be met. They would have to perform background checks on Luke, myself, and Melinda to make sure neither of us were felons or had a history, and I know Luke and I are clean. I hope Melinda is. Then an agent would have to come by and evaluate the living conditions to make sure they were appropriate. She said the process could take anywhere from 72 hours to 1 or 2 weeks. My skepticism made me think this estimate might be overly gracious though. And then, she could be released to us if everything was okay until they made a more official decision, at which point she would legally become Luke's daughter. So yeah, I didn't get fucked over. I think sometimes we forget that the system is composed of people just like you who, in actuality, do care about kids. So, Erica had to go back to a children's home, which didn't please her at all. I could tell she was on the brink of some sort of tantrum. So I calmed her down. She had tears in her eyes. I gave her a nice big hug and told her that I would come see where she was staying soon and that she would probably end up back with us. Then I told her to promise me she wouldn't try to run away or anything again, which she agreed to. It made me really sad to see her go. I had tears forming in my eyes, which was a rare occasion, but she had to leave. However, at least she would probably be back soon. She was allowed to keep the stuff we bought her, the clothes, and the bear. As she left, Sharon said she'd put in a good word for us. Go, Sharon. Anyways, after she left, I had to have a little talk with Luke about what he told Sharon. Luke informed me that last night on his date with Melinda, he had told her about Erica, and Melinda offered to let us move into her house. Apparently, she has a big house she inherited. Not a mansion, but nothing to scoff at. I asked Luke why she would offer to let a guy she's gone on, maybe 10 dates with and his adoptive daughter move in with her. And he replied, out of the goodness of her heart. Just like you did. That made sense, and the benefits he outlined to me were pretty clear. We'd save tons of money on rent. We'd have an actual bedroom for Erica, more space. It seemed almost too perfect. But Luke says there's no catch to it. That's what he left to discuss with her. I resisted the urge to mention his little bedroom failure. I asked about when we should move, and he said ASAP. He wanted us to just pack up our shit and go. Tonight. Obviously, there was stuff we had to do before though, like telling our landlord and stuff like that. We did, however, drive over to the place. It's a really nice house. Most of the bedrooms are vacant since she's the only one that lives there currently. I'm highly considering this proposition. There's not really any downsides except it's a bit further out of the way from my work and stuff. Also, if you want to join me, you can at the unoriginal 1245, or join the AIM chat, Blindmute chat, which losers, just kidding guys, have been idling in for days. Hey guys, it's Blindmute Loli guy, back for the real 5th thread. Nice try, WikiChan impersonator guy, and as you're probably expecting from this next sentence, I'm going to say go ahead and read the rest at the archive, since the last 4 threads are on there. Last time on Dragon Ball Z, Goku was tested positive for syphilis, the DNA test came back, and Krillin is Android 18's baby daddy, except she's an android. What's up with that? Okay, now let's get down to serious business. I woke up today, yada yada yada. I did stuff. Let's get to the important stuff. I visited Erica in the children's home where she's at, and talked to her for a bit. I could see she still had her bear. I asked her a few questions, seeing if anybody was giving her a hard time, how she's doing. Sadly, even if she is doing bad, there's not much I can do as of right now. I gave her a little hint that if any of the boys are bullying her, she should kick them in a very special place. Okay, so that's probably not responsible advice to give to a child who might take it seriously, but if they give Erica any crap, they deserve to get an ass whooping. Or in this case, a testicle punt. I also gave her some candy I bought. I don't know what they get to eat in the home. I also ran into Sharon again. Thinking of the person in the chat last night who supposedly works at CPS, I decided to talk with Sharon. So, honestly, Sharon, truthfully, do I have any chance of winning custody of Erica? And she replied, well, to be perfectly honest, two young guys living in a small apartment adopting a young girl is very irregular. However, you said you were moving in with your friend's fiancé soon who has a rather large house, right? Yeah, we should be moving in sometime this week. Then that completely changes the situation. I'd say that if your background check goes well, you'd be okay. So, what exactly do you check in those? Well, criminal record, background, credit, they might interview neighbors and employers. This is generally what the person last night who said they worked at CPS told me. And Sharon had this to say personally about the whole deal. I really see no reason why you shouldn't get custody. Really, these homes aren't the best environments for children, but there's too many for everyone to be adopted, and kids like Erica are usually the last picks. People don't want to take the time to communicate with a kid with disabilities. I think you're doing a good thing. My talk with her made me feel much better. Getting home, Luke and I began to pack to move. We were going to pack up all the non-essentials we wouldn't need in the near future, so we'll be ready to move sooner. It still feels odd, but it's such a good deal that there's no way to turn it down. I drove some of it over, while Luke had something to do with Kaji that he needed to attend to. While there, I made conversation with Melinda. The subject invariably got on Luke, and she thinks highly of him. She kept on telling me how sweet and he is. This is good. Because if Luke and Melinda break it off, the whole plan is ruined. I could almost feel, though, like some sort of energy between us, that in the back of both of our minds was Luke's little limp dick problem. Luke, if you happen to read this, I'm sorry, lol. Then she asked about my relationship life, which I told her was lacking. She said it's a shame, since I seem like a sweet guy. And cute, too. Hey, can't disagree with her there. Well, I can, but maybe she has some friends. Of course, I'm going to be seeing Megan tomorrow at my job, which may be a bit odd for us. I hope we don't have sex on the stoves or something. Of course, I wouldn't mind seeing grease all over Megan's ass. Anyways, Melinda is always friendly. I also asked her about her criminal record, which she found to be an odd question, but according to her, there's nothing to be concerned about. And here is where I tell you my aim is unoriginal1245, and you should go to the AIM Blindmute chat. Next time, Luke gives birth to a toy sailboat. Please look forward to it. Hey all, it's Blindmute Loli Guy here, back to fill the souls of B with music. Anyways, as always, you can go to the WikiChan article, appropriately titled Blindmute Loli, to read up on the last 5 threads. It's been 2 days since I updated, having not made a thread on Monday. On Monday, nothing particularly exciting happened. Hey all, it's Blindmute Loli Guy here, back to fill the souls of B with music. Anyways, as always, you can go to the WikiChan article, appropriately titled Blindmute Loli, to read up on the last 5 threads. It's been 2 days since I updated, having not made a thread on Monday. On Monday, nothing particularly exciting happened. I went to work, and Megan and I flirted the whole time, trying not to let people notice. I really just wanted to bend her over the stove, turned on or not, and rape her sweet butt. But that has to wait until August. Of course, if our boss noticed, he'd be pissed that I'm going to hit on his son's girlfriend. I also got her AIM, but she told me she didn't have a MySpace. Not that I have one. I thought she would be a MySpace whore. We moved some more shit over to Melinda's to prepare for completing the move on Tuesday, which has been completed. I also visited Erica and brought her some more candy. She expressed her usual sentiment of not wanting to be where she is, which is understandable. At least, she's getting some schooling though. They have a program where a teacher comes for about an hour a day to teach. I think the reason his visits are so short is because he works for free or at a cheap rate, being charitable and such. She said she'd rather continue her typing. I don't think she's had much computer use before meeting her. Lessons, which surprised me since I thought they bored her. Sharon was there too again, but she said she had to run after giving me a quick hello. My boss also told me he was contacted by CPS, wanting to see what he thought about me. They dig pretty deep into your shit at CPS. On Tuesday, we completed moving what was left of our stuff to Melinda's and now began settling there. Some of us are more receptive to the change than others. Kaji, for instance, is a bit disturbed at the change of surroundings. One of the first things he did was take a green, sickly-looking shit on Melinda's carpet, which Luke had to clean. Speaking of Melinda, though, I've been noticing some disturbing things. I have a feeling under her nice exterior may be a neurotic, crazy woman. Some observations. When Kaji shit on the floor, she tried to be all nice and pass it off, but she looked like she was about to shit herself too. 2. She nicely informed me during the dinner to please use a coaster. Nicely as in she looked like she was going to end herself if she saw a ring on her table. 3. She carries hand sanitizer around and uses it frequently. Another thing, Melinda said tomorrow we were having a little get-together with the neighbors, so Luke and I could meet them. This isn't particularly bad, but I'm not a hugely social person. I'm just hoping I impress them or at least appear neighborly because they'll be interviewed for the adoption process too. Melinda said, "My friends like cuties like you. Maybe you'll meet somebody." On a side note, I still think Luke is having erectile dysfunction because I can tell when he's getting laid. He has a certain demeanor about him. I also took the time to visit Erica again. I made Luke come with me since he's going to be the legal father he should be accompanying with. Erica didn't really particularly seem to care. Erica was in a bit of a grumpy mood. Apparently, she tried my advice I gave her and got in some trouble. Some boy was bugging her, so she gave him a swift kick. I think she kicked his leg though and missed the nuts. I then had to give her a speech on real bullying advice and that she should just ignore them and they'll get bored. Is this good advice? Maybe. Maybe not. But it seems like what Bill Cosby would have said. And then I gave Erica a present I bought her to bring her to cheer her up. It's a necklace. She obviously couldn't see it, but I think she liked it just because it was from me. And well, it wouldn't hurt my situation if anybody saw me giving Erica these things. You know, prove I'm not a broke bum. Sharon was there again. I'm wondering if she comes just at the time I usually visit. And she talked to Luke and I. She mostly asked me questions about my job and such. I wondered if the conversation was an official interview or off the record. CPS could be so sneaky. So now I'm kicking it at my new residence. Even though it might be a bit too early, Luke and I want to begin painting a room for Erica. We have a bedroom which is already designated as hers, unoccupied. I'll ask her tomorrow what she would want. Of course, that may be an odd question considering she's blind and doesn't really know what colors are. Surely, painting would be better than a plain white room, though. We also need to buy some furnishings for it. Someday, a CPS agent should come by to examine the place, and we want it to look well lived in. Right now, Melinda has been living in it for a while, but a lot of the rooms look unexplored. Hopefully, I'm on the fast track to adoption. Okay, B, it's Blindmute Loli guy again, who nobody cares about. And you can go to WikiChan and read the last 5 entries, yada 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 yada. Anyways, I'll get straight down to business. The adoption process is now getting fucked over big time. Okay, so as you may or may not know, Luke can't get it up. He's having problems with his dick. So today, he decided to finally see a doctor about it. He didn't tell me this specifically, but I knew. Every time we looked at each other, he knew I was thinking about his limp dick like a soggy pancake flapping in the wind. This left me alone with Melinda, and we made small chat, but we both knew that Luke's soggy pancake was in the back of our minds, and eventually we could just almost feel it in the back of each other's heads. We both just burst out laughing, and we knew exactly what we were laughing about. And then we talked about it. She inquired about Luke's other girlfriends, if he had any problems. She said, "Maybe I'm not pretty enough," to which I just responded nicely to with, "No, you're very pretty." I think she took it the wrong way though. "How about you? Have you had any problems like that?" And then I felt it. The horror, stiffening in my pants. Why she was asking me about my dick. Fuck. No? And then she got up from her seat. And at that point, it was all over. Are you a virgin? Yeah. My voice was squeaking like a little schoolboy. She situated herself in my lap, and my pants tent was already set up. I can't do this. I should do it. I can't do it. I want it. My mind wasn't really thinking straight, and then my head exploded. I was no longer mild-mannered OP. I was a man, and I was going to take this woman. I scooped her up and carried her straight upstairs. I slammed her down on the bed and just sort of pounced on her like a tiger. I fondled her tits, taking her shirt off and fondling them more through her bra while she just kept on stroking my dick. So wrong. So fucking wrong. But she needed somebody to please her, right? And then Emperor Boner spoke. Release the sperm. My pants were already wet, and Melinda could feel it. You really are a virgin. That statement enraged me. I was determined to fuck her brains out. Just as I'd slipped my pants off, though, I heard a noise. The door opening. Oh shit. It was Luke. We rushed like Sonic the Hedgehog to get our clothes on and looking normal, and then I darted back to my room. Melinda, however, has been consistently dropping hints ever since. I know she wants to continue where she left off, so that's the problem. Melinda, who is the owner of the house I'm staying in for free, wants me. And if I don't offer myself to her, she could kick me out if she wanted to. She's not that bad looking. When we got into bed, she turned into a different Melinda. She was like making growling noises at me, clawing at me. I could see now why she appealed to Luke. She was fucking crazy in bed. But then, there's the other side to the story. It's Luke's girlfriend. My best friend for a long time. The guy who let me stay with him in his apartment for a long-ass time. Can I betray his trust? I mean, that's pretty bad of me. I know he can't get it up. I know Melinda has urges, but surely she can wait while Luke fixes his boner issues. And if Luke catches up, he's technically Erica's adoptive father. He could take her away and I'd never see her again. But if I don't follow Melinda's wishes, she could kick me out of the house and ruin my chances to see Erica too. So it's like, either way I'm fucked. My best bet is to fuck Melinda without getting caught. But that's morally wrong. I would never want to betray Luke like that. Anyways, in other news, I visited Erica again today, having Luke go with me. We talked to her for a bit. She was still wearing her necklace. Usual stuff. I ran into Sharon again, who I've decided must come specifically when I do. She informed me that she was coming over to our house sometime this week to do an inspection. I didn't think that was her job, and she said it usually isn't, but she specifically requested to do this one. I see she's making an extra effort for my case, which is good, if that case isn't ruined by interpersonal conflicts. Also at work, I think my boss is growing increasingly suspicious of Megan and I. He's giving us odd looks, which is mostly Megan's fault since she isn't very good at keeping secrets. It's really a shitty deal. I finally get chicks coming on to me, but at the worst possible time. Currently, I'm just in my room hiding from both Luke and Melinda, who I think are, unsuccessfully, trying to have sex again. And I know who she's really thinking of. So, B, what do I do? Also, join the AIM chat, Blindmute chat, if you want to talk to me there, or whatever. Well, B, it's me, Blindmute Loli guy, writing this as fast as possible, so let's just fucking jump right in. Started out as an average day. I went to work to go make my meager pay, but no, it wasn't average at all. I knew that the moment my boss called me privately into his office, and with his first sentence, I knew my job was over. I know about your relationship with Megan. Great. Fucking great. He spared me the real reason, though, the fact that Megan is his son's girlfriend. He gave me a big bullshit speech about how, although my personal relationships are none of his business, employees having affairs with underage employees reflects badly on his establishment, and that's why he has to let me go. You know what I said? Absolutely fucking nothing. I couldn't say anything. Like, maybe if his son was more of a man, his girl wouldn't be looking to put other men on the job. I couldn't muster up a middle finger, an asshole, or anything. I just meekly said, "Alright," and walked out. But you know what? I'm not an easily raged guy. It was cool. So I lost my job. So what? I'll find a new one. I'd like to think I'm better than working at a fast food place my whole life anyways. On to bigger and better things, right? And then I went to visit Erica, the brightness of my life. The one person I could always depend on to cheer me up, and that she did. So I went home in a better mood, and I was greeted by my friend Luke. "Hey buddy, I was on WikiChan the other day." And at this point, I knew shit was taking a turn for the worst. And I saw a story that looked surprisingly similar to ours. And apparently, the guy also tried to fuck his best friend's girlfriend. At this point, his tub of lard, jiggly ass decided to punch me in the face. With that, I went crazy. I wasn't taking any more shit from anybody. It was Luke, it was my boss, it was anybody that I'd ever taken shit from without saying a word, stretching back all the way to being a kid. I pushed him down, grabbed a lamp off of the nearby table, and began beating him in the head with it. After a few hits, Luke's head was busted open, and Melinda, in tears, pulled me off. She was taking Luke to the hospital, and told me to get the fuck out by the time she got back. So, she's been gone, and I'm getting ready to go. You guys are the only friends I have anyways. So, I thought I'd give you all a little closure. So, yeah. I'm fucked. What do I get? Nothing. I lose Erica. I lose my job. I lose my house. I lose my best friend. The first chance I've had to lose my virginity and, well, forever. And now I'm just a homeless bum with a laptop, which I'll probably have to sell for food and a few clothes. What does Erica get? To stay in a children's home until she's 18. At which point she can be literally blindly thrusted into the adult world. Maybe she'll run away again. Maybe she'll get kidnapped and raped by a pedophile. What can I do about it? I'm just the worthless piece of shit I've always been, except now I don't even have a job or place to stay. By staying here and typing this, I risk having Melinda call the cops on me so I can spend a nice night in jail, but you guys are the last people who give half a shit about me, so what the hell? I need to leave though, but let's just recap the final lesson learned here. Don't do anything nice for anybody. It'll just all blow up in your fucking face. I pick a girl off of the streets, give her food and a place to stay, try to be a nice guy, but no. I needed the system's approval, so I began jumping through hoops to appease the faggots at CPS, and I ended up losing everything. Awesome world. Huh? Hey all, it's Blindmute Loli guy again. Finally back. I know it hasn't been that long, but whatever. Anyways, I'll just jump right in because I'm sure you all, as in the 8 or so people in the chat, want to know how I got back here. So yeah, as you know, Luke and I got into a fight. A fight still not ended, and I ended up homeless. I packed my shit up and left before Melinda and Luke got home, and nobody ended up calling the cops on me. Now I needed to solve the dilemma of having no place to stay. I had a bit of money, but not enough to afford a hotel or anything. The only thing I could think of doing is going back to my old boss and begging for my job back. At least that way I could start making money so I wouldn't be homeless forever. I figured it would still be open if I hurried over there. I didn't realize how far it was on foot though. When I got there, my ex-boss was already gone. Well, there's always tomorrow. Just then, I ran into Megan, who asked me what I was doing at work after being fired. Then I spilled the whole story. Melinda and I, Luke, the lamp, the punching, and the fact that I was now homeless. Megan was sympathetic towards my story and had an idea. She said maybe she could convince her parents to let me stay at her place overnight. Well, hey, a homeless guy can't be picky. Anything's worth a try, right? So her parents, who usually come to pick her up from work, arrived. Megan asked. I stood there trying to look as innocent and non-creepy as possible, and her father spoke thusly. No. And to seal the deal, it started raining. So now I'm just wandering around like some sort of crazy guy, soaked, with a backpack full of essentially, at least in this situation, stuff. Laptop and a few clothes. Maybe I'll catch pneumonia and die. I thought, what sort of weird, fucked up karma is this? I take a homeless person in and end up homeless because of it. It doesn't make much sense. After that, nothing really happened that night. I had absolutely no place to stay and I didn't get one. I spent the whole night basically loitering around. I had no desire to sleep, and those of you in the chat know I stay up a bit late. Really, I was just hoping I wouldn't get shot or stabbed or something. Before I knew it, the sun was coming up. It had stopped raining by then. My clothes were still fairly damp, but the sunrise seemed to make the mood a bit more cheery. It was probably about 4 a.m. then, when the sun usually rises. I was determined to go and visit Erica just like I always did, so I started off in the direction of the home. Now, obviously, it's going to take me from 4 a.m. till the mid-afternoon, when I usually visit, to get there, but it never hurts to have an early start. I considered going to Luke and begging, but I decided against it. Even if he did let me back in, it'd be incredibly awkward between Melinda and I. Time passed, with me walking, thinking. I didn't enjoy not having a home, but on the plus side, this was probably the most I've been outside in a while. As more time passed, looking up at a clock, all I could see was my time to visit Erica. I didn't know if I should tell her what happened or not. Maybe there are some things kids shouldn't know. I walked in, and there she was, just as usual. I wanted to tell her the story, but throughout the visit, I didn't have the heart to. I saw Sharon coming as usual, though, and from the way she looked at me, I had a feeling she knew what was up. Luke canceled the adoption process. What happened? So, for the second time, I spilled the beans. I told her the whole sob story with the loss of job and the homelessness, the laptop, and that's when Sharon became my angel. She offered to let me stay at her place, so maybe karma wasn't so bad after all. She lives in a duplex, so her living space is larger than my old apartment, but not as large as Melinda's. She drove me there, and the first thing I did was take a shower. I was pretty wet and dirty. Then she made me some food, as I was fairly hungry. I've been here since. And yes, I could have returned sooner. I really just didn't feel like making an update. Until today, when I decided to write one. Sharon and I talked, and we both agreed that it's really unfair to Erica to have to stay in a home because of a fight between me and Luke. Sharon decided that she was going to try and adopt Erica. Now, with her working at CPS, this presents an issue. I don't know if it works in her favor or against her, or whether it doesn't matter at all, but I'm hoping she wins it. She's got good prospects. She's a mature, responsible woman. I don't really know where I'm going from here. Sharon seems to be enjoying having me, actually, and I enjoy the company. We've become friends over the days I've been here, as opposed to the awkward friendliness of a potential adopter and a person who may have to tell you, sorry, you can't adopt her. I don't want to impose myself on her forever, though. Of course, if she adopts Erica, I'm sure she'll let me visit, and I think she'll make a good mother. And that's what's happened while I've been gone. Things are slowly getting better, as they always do. Life has to beat you down a few times so it can bring you back up. And for this last paragraph, I'll bring back the time-honored tradition of whoring the AIM chat, which is Blindmute chat, without the quotes. Hi B, it's Blindmute Loli guy here, back again. Here's what happened today. I woke up, as I frequently like to, except it was sometime in the afternoon. Me being unemployed and all, it felt good not being on a schedule, but when I realized it was about an hour until I had to visit Erica, so I rushed to the shower to be as presentable as I could to go visit her. Not that she could see me, but I still gotta look good for her, or as good as I can look. While getting ready, I also saw lots of Sharon's pantsu lying about. I told chat this last night. Sharon isn't really clean like Melinda. She's sort of messy, having clothes everywhere. I began to feel nostalgic, taking me back to my teen years when my sisters' and cousins' drawers were my domain. Keep in mind, I'm only 19. And I sniffed. And I sniffed again. And it was good. I suppose it's sort of wrong to sniff the underwear of somebody kind enough to take you in, but I blame it on B, and the chat which told me to. I arrived at the home and Sharon was there. When did you end up waking up? Like an hour ago? Wow, talk about lazy. Get a job. Of course, she didn't say this in a mean tone, just in a joking one. Then she said, Luke came here today. Uh-oh. So, from what I learned from her, Luke came here to tell her to tell me something. Apparently, Luke had gotten a call from my parents, who probably still thought I was living with him. The last time I talked to them, I gave them his cell phone number so we could have a deal with them. My little sister has been involved in a car accident. Now, to describe the relationship between myself and my parents, it's strained. When I turned 18, I didn't immediately apply to any college, and I'll admit I was a slacker in high school, which is partly B's fault when I was 17 and 18, so they decided to help me out and teach me responsibility by kicking me out. This is when I began living with Luke. Of course, I still like my sister. We have a pretty good relationship. We're the usual bickering siblings, but sometimes I end up being the overprotective big brother. I really think I should visit her, and since I'm not working, my schedule is less constricting, so I'm debating whether or not I'm going. If I did, I'd probably drive down there tomorrow and stay maybe for a day or two. She is my sister regardless of how I feel about my parents, and Sharon didn't actually specify what exactly happened. She got into a car accident, but I don't know if that means she's dead or in the hospital or what. I would assume she's not dead or they would have told me so. I hope not. Anyways, also she's not even old enough to drive, which means she either stole my parents' car or got in the car with some rabble-rouser who I'll have to beat up later. I also have an older sister. I didn't know if she would be there. She's generally considered the success of the family, getting a scholarship to a good college, majoring in psychology. I don't dislike her for it though. On a more pleasant note, Sharon told me that our current adoption process was going great, since CPS has already done an extensive background check of me, and since Sharon works there, the whole process is going to be a lot faster. She told me that they would send an agent over as soon as next week and we could have Erica, on a trial basis that is, in that same week if all goes well. I told that to Erica, who was overjoyed. I know that it's not always the best idea to get kids excited about things that may or may not happen, but since she's been in the home for a bit, she's starting to really dislike it again. So I had to give her something to be excited about. I also told her what happened between Luke and I, not the part about me and Melinda, just the part where we had a fight, omitting the graphic violence. She wrote that she liked Sharon, who's been keeping an eye on Erica for me. So it works out well. Then she asked me if Sharon and I are getting married. Sharon and I both laughed at that, and Sharon said not at the moment. Sharon said she'll be back at the duplex later, and then with a hug from Erica, I was off. I had the whole day to myself after that. When I left Melinda's house, I grabbed everything I could fit in my backpack. So my DS was with me, but no Wii, 360, or any other console goodness. So I spent the day watching TV. I took a nap. I'm excessively lazy when I have the time to be, and took a few more sniffs. It makes your heart beat when you clutch what you know you're not supposed to be touching. It took me back, it did. Sharon eventually came home, and I greeted her with some dinner. Dinner being easy shit I was capable of making with my limited culinary knowledge. I also cleaned up a bit in various places, trying not to seem totally useless. So we sat down to eat dinner, and I was reminded of something I wanted to ask her. How did Luke look when you saw him? He had a head injury. I smirked at that. Luke probably didn't deserve to get his head bashed in. I didn't deserve to get kicked out. And it's a regrettable incident, but it still feels good to win a fight. And now I'm here, taking a left after I simply walked through Mordor and stopped in Bat Country for some coffee. I'll try to go into the chat tomorrow to let some of you guys know whether or not I'm going to visit my sister. But if you don't see me tomorrow, you'll know I went and you can expect me back in a few days. So here's what happened. I got the address, went to the hospital. When I arrived, a nurse led me to the room of my sister. She was in bed, awake, and my parents were on each side of their bed. This was going to be an awkward situation. I hadn't seen my parents in a while since they kicked me out. They gave me a cold-sounding, "Hi, son," and I gave them an equally cold, "Hi, Mom," "Hi, Dad," and a much more enthusiastic, "Hey, sis, how you feeling?" She smiled. She sounded a bit weak, but said, "Hi, brother." My parents excused themselves from the room and left us alone. I asked her what had happened, and it's just what I thought. She was at a party, needed a ride home, and got into the car with some drunken guy who crashed into another vehicle. They were both injured, and that's how she got here. I began to give her the big old speech about how she could get in the car with some drunk guy and yada yada yada. And then I realized she's probably already been lectured to death by mom and dad, so I stopped and just said, "I'm glad you're okay." I grabbed her hand and began stroking her forehead for a bit. We started talking about what we'd been up to. She asked me about my life, and I told her about Erica and what was going on. She seemed really surprised that I was actually doing something. Lol, everyone in my family expects me to be a huge failure. So, what about Sharon? Are you two dating? Well, it's sort of complicated. When we were kids, I used to have a little crush on you. Then she started talking about some of the times I've protected her. I'm not Mr. Muscles, but I can totally beat up kids that are like 5 years younger than me. Even though her and I didn't always get along, I still took on the role of the protective big brother. And since I know you all have perverted brains and you're thinking incest incoming, I'll say this now so that there is no forthcoming incest. Zip up your pants, Anons. Anyways, we both laughed at all of our old stories. I asked her what happened to a few of them. Most of them were still here. I asked her what she was up to. She said she's been working on getting her grades up, and she's got no boyfriend. But no, you guys can't date her. Did Amelia, older sister, come yet? Nope, not yet. Amelia is the older sister, the success I mentioned earlier. She's probably too busy with her shit to visit. Bitch. My sister and I never really had a good relationship, me being the younger brother she always liked to mess with. My parents came back in. We're going to head back to the house, Emily. Jake, you're welcome to stay with us. So I went with them. When we arrived at home, we all sat down to have a little dinner. For the first time in a long time, even when I was a kid, we usually never sat down to eat together. They asked me how stuff was going, and I told them the same thing I told my sister, and they actually said they were proud of me. So yeah, my parents don't think I'm a failure anymore. Of course, on the negative side, they had their little lesson of kicking me out worked. I gave them the number to Sharon's place if they ever needed to call me. They said I should marry her. While I've been here, I've been visiting my sister every day. Usually with my parents though, I always stay a bit longer than they do. Usually just talk, play some cards, and to reiterate, no incest. But my visit must come to an end. I'm leaving tomorrow and I'll be back at Sharon's place. I know Erica is probably missing me. Okay, B. It's Blindmute Loli. Prepare the sage beams. Today, I had to bid my sister a fond farewell. I went to her hospital room with my parents, gave her a hug, kiss on the cheek, and told her to get well soon, that I might come to visit more often now, like for Christmas. They all wished me luck with the adoption, and my parents said that if I needed any help, I could ask them. That really contradicts their whole idea of kicking me out, but okay. So I was off, and back to Sharon's duplex. When I arrived, all of the lights were off. It was sort of creepy, since I was expecting somebody to welcome me. Then I heard small footsteps. An intruder? Just had to get to the light switch. But then I felt a hand on me. Oh God, I was going to die right here, painfully. Wait, I know that hand. Small, delicate little hand. Sharon flipped the lights on, and it was just who you think. Little Erica was standing before me, still in one of the outfits I bought her, still wearing her necklace, even holding the bear. At seeing her, I couldn't help but giving her a big hug, almost enough to pop her head off. Isn't this a bit early, Sharon? Well, CPS works in strange ways, believe me. So we have, at the moment, temporary custody. The main rule of it is that we have to inform CPS if we want to take Erica out of state and get their approval. Once we fully adopt her, hopefully they'll leave us alone. Well, I'm sure they have little checkup visits every now and then. Sharon had a large, celebratory dinner prepared, and despite being a lousy housekeeper, Sharon is an excellent cook. Erica was delighted to have it probably being the best thing she's had in a while. We had some dinner time conversation with Erica asking, telling, and saying for Erica again, being writing on her notebook in case anybody forgot, how me and my sister went. I told her about it, that my parents made up, and all was well. She said yes to me asking her if she'd like to visit sometime. After we finished, Sharon presented a gift to Erica. Try to one-up me, will she? It was a checkers board. I remember mentioning to Sharon that Erica likes checkers. Erica and Sharon played, and Erica destroyed Sharon. I don't think checkers is her game. I fared a little bit better against her, but still lost. I thought that maybe someday I'd like to teach her how to play chess. The only problem is, I'd have to learn how to play it myself. I'm certainly not betting on Sharon knowing. After the checkers were over, Sharon went up to her room and Erica and I settled down on the couch. She cuddled right up against me and we watched some TV. She lifted her head curiously at me and I started singing the Fresh Prince theme at the beginning of the show. Something I do occasionally when thinking of B, but then she started tapping her foot to it. Eventually, I could tell she was getting tired, so I lifted her up to take her to the bathroom. Sharon didn't seem to have a problem with me bathing Erica, not that she should. So I made her all squeaky clean and wrapped her up in a towel to dry her off. While she was standing in front of me, wrapped up, she reached forward and gave me a little kiss on the nose. So I had to do it. It was the perfect Full House moment. I had to pull out my secret weapon of cutesiness. Blowing a raspberry, not to be confused with popping a cherry. Bronx cheer, whatever you want to call it. I gave her on the cheek, which she smiled at. She wiped it off of her cheek and I finished drying her off. It was at this point I realized I still didn't have any nighttime clothing for her. Duh. So I put her in one of my t-shirts again and she was off to bed. I kissed her on the forehead and said goodnight, but she tugged on my shirt. She patted the bed beside her like she wanted me to get in. So I did. She cuddled up right under my arm. I asked her what the bear's name was. She said it was Sherman. So she laid there, with my arm around her shoulder and eventually fell asleep, and I drifted off for a bit too. Now there's still one more issue. Erica's birthday is next Saturday, July the 14th. Since she's home, I need to give her the best birthday party ever. I need to get her some presents, some guests, cake and stuff. Any ideas? As for the guests, I was thinking of inviting the people that live on the other side of the duplex. Sharon says they're a nice little family, and I never really hear a peep out of them. I could also ask Erica if maybe she had any friends from the children's home, though I'm not betting on it, that she would want to invite. So that's all for now. AIM Chat, Blindmute Chat is open for all, as always. Salutations, B. It's Blindmute Loli Guy, back with 3 new flavors of syphilis. Be sure to try Mango Tango Berry for your computer screen. Well then, today, or yesterday as it more accurately is since it's late or early in the morning as I'm writing this, I had a few tasks in mind. Those tasks are as follows. Invite the neighbors to Erica's birthday party. Ask Sharon on a date. Yes, today was the day I was going to do it. And fill out job application for a nearby food place. And I intended to start in that order, but later. So Erica woke up a bit after me. I made breakfast, we ate, and then she asked me to play some checkers against her, which means she just wanted to beat someone horribly. But I would not lose. No way. The tension mounted as I got out the board to set the pieces in place. I was going first. I needed a good strategy, something I haven't done before. So I moved a piece forward. She moved hers. Then I moved a piece behind the first one forward. It occurred to me. I had to keep my little checkered soldier pieces together. Like a unit, a pack of wolves ready to pounce on all unsuspecting sheep. I'll get her. She moved forward again, and again I moved. Back and forth the checkers flew. Ach! She got me. One of my pieces, rushing too quickly into enemy territory, drawn in by the promise of kinghood, struck down by her cruel black men. She stuck her tongue out at me as she jumped me. Oh, cruel mistress, she loves to strike my men down. I moved, she moved, I moved, and she moved. One by one I saw my soldiers face death. Bravely those that survived marched on. One of them reached the end, the promised land, to ascend to become a king. But this brave and noble king wouldn't sit back where he was safe. He trudged back into the fray, only to be shot down. The odds became overwhelming. My men were scarce. Her black, vast empire stretched over the board, continuing to wage war valiantly, taking out a few of the black devils here and there, but all of them fell. The war was over. It was time for me to raise my white flag. Is any of this making checkers more exciting? She may have won, but I asked her if she could do this. Erica, of course, couldn't see me do whatever it was I was about to do, which would surely make me uneasy. She doesn't know, though, that they used to call me General Ticklefingers. And tickle I did. After the tickling quotient had been fulfilled, I decided it was late enough to go over to the neighbors and invite them. Ring the doorbell I did, and greeted by a man I was. He seemed like the average guy, the kind in commercials, the one who watches the game with a beer in his hand and goes to a crappy job every day and is a raging alcoholic but denies it. Hi, I live in the other side of the duplex. Hey there, my name's Jim Wall, but you can call me Jim. So I tell Jim my name and he invites me in. So we take a seat down on the couch, his beer belly jiggling a bit as he takes a seat. So how about a beer? Oh, I'm not old enough to drink, Jim. Yes, I know that makes me sound like a huge fag, but whatever. And for the record, I'm not some sort of straight edge. Anyways, back to Jim, who said, "Oh, then how about a paparuski?" Yes, he actually said a rooski, but I'm used to odd vocal mannerisms from living with Luke. On another side note, everybody here says pop, and I hate it. It's soda. Jim got me a soda, and we sat down on the couch to chat a bit. He asked about Sharon and I. At that point, I thought that hopefully by the end of the day, Sharon and I would become more than just friends. He asked me about my job. Didn't have one. After the general chit-chat was done, I invited Jim and his family to the party. Sure, me and the famaroony, family minus Lee plus Rooney, famaroony, I guess, would be happy to come. Why don't you meet them before you go? So he called his kids down. There was Melanie, a 12-year-old girl, Amelia, a 6-year-old girl, and finally Eric, a 15-year-old. Eric, or Girl Pants as I like to call him, was a stereotypical emo kid. Dyed black hair and that little flippy thing. Girl Pants, a band t-shirt for some crappy emo band. Overall, a pretty average American family. His wife, Cynthia, was missing, so I would have to meet her at another time. So the guest list for Erica's party is now Erica, of course, me, Sharon, Jim, a Rooney, Melanie, Amelia, Eric, and Cynthia. As I returned home, I told Erica I was going shopping, but it was actually Sharon who went shopping. I knew Sharon would soon return. Aaron asked me where the groceries were, looking for some chips to eat. They were closed. So I waited for Sharon to return home, and she did, with various foodstuffs. Erica didn't question my super knowledge, just happily munched on her chips. I went to share the good news with Sharon, that I had invited the neighbors. She gave me a sarcastic, "Great. What's wrong with them? Jim is the most annoying man in the world." Oops, I guess I should have asked Sharon before I invited these people into her house. Jim seemed nice enough to me, but I see how he could press on your nerves if you're around him too long. I called Sharon into the other room, wanting to speak to her alone. Erica, being curious as any 8-year-old would, tried to sneak her way into the room, but she was foiled. She didn't really know the layout of Sharon's place that much yet. "So, Sharon, we've been friends for a bit now." I was starting to get nervous. Can't get nervous. When you get nervous, you mess up. I had to stay cool. Calm and cool. Deep breath. Skip the beating around the bush. So I popped a question, asking her on a date. "Well, you're really nice, but..." And then I got it. The "you're really nice, but" speech. Mission failed. Snake? Snake, get up! Snake! Well, I was a bit disappointed, and could only hope that didn't make things totally awkward between us. Sharon also had a message for me. She said Luke asked me to go by Melinda's place tomorrow. What does he want? We'll find out later today. As for my third task, not much going on there. I got the application, began filling it out. There is another problem, though, that relates to my old job. Megan. I haven't mentioned her much, but she's been sort of stalking me. We exchanged AIM SNS, so whenever I sign on, she's been stalking me. I really don't think I want to pursue any relations with her, as she got me in so much trouble before, but she won't give up. She still thinks that in August I'm going to take her virginity. I'm doubting whether that's the best idea. I did get turned down by Sharon, though. Maybe I shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth? It's not like the cosmic forces of the universe send you hot girls wanting your penis every day, and she's only about 3 years younger, since she was almost 16. As long as she's not involved with the son of my new boss. So that's what happened today. I completed 2 out of 3 tasks, which is 66%. An F, but I'm used to those from high school. I'm pretty disappointed about Sharon, which is why I really need to get a job. If she has no romantic interest in me, then she has no reason to keep me around for free. I should probably start paying her rent if I want to make an extended stay. I'm Blindmute Loli Guy, and insert a witty non sequitur here. Today, I arose from my slumber and was greeted by Erica, who had felt her way around into my room. I put her under arrest for trespassing and carried her into the kitchen. Putting her down, I prepared some foods to be enjoyed and began the day. Once again, being the unemployed lump I am, I had nothing to do. I settled down with Erica on the couch and was playing EBA. Erica inquired about the music I was listening to, so I told her it was a music game. She wanted to play, but obviously her blindness presents a problem in that regard. Of course, I knew Erica wouldn't like that answer, so getting another one of my clever ideas, I went to the first stage of Breezin'. I took Erica's hand, it grasping a stylus, and completed the level by leading her to tap the beats. Possibly, she could memorize the timing and the position of the screen. After one time, though, I had her try it herself. She failed miserably. Luckily, she lost interest in it after that, before I made an extended dedication to teaching her. Sorry, no video game playing Loli here. Try Damaged Goods. That did get me interested in wondering if there were any games specifically made for blind people, which there are. Maybe I would have Erica play some sometime. She wanted to again pwn me at checkers. I decided to make up a new rule. If she wanted to jump one of my pieces, she had to type a word on my keyboard. Good way to tie in learning with fun, or a cheap way to try and beat an 8-year-old girl at checkers. You decide. But I still lost. It was at least closer this time, though. Eventually, I was going to teach her some other board games, though. In other business, though, I was planning on going to see Luke today. Sharon was going to be home soon, so once she was, I was going to head to Melinda's. When Sharon did return, I had a bit of business to discuss with her. So, Sharon, what's the situation with you and me? I know she had already turned me down yesterday, but I want to know where I stand. From this convo, I learned she actually has a boyfriend. The reason I haven't heard anything about him until now is because they haven't spoken in a while after her boyfriend, Mark, cheated on her, but now he's changed and they're starting to make up. As for my situation, Sharon said that I was a good stay-at-home mom for Erica. She refused rent from me, but I still can't be a bum at her house forever. Well, anyways, I made my way over to Luke's. To put it quite simply, apologies were made. Luke apologized for overreacting. I apologized for kicking Luke's ass, and boy did he have a mark. Sorry, Luke, if you are reading this. Melinda apologized for trying to seduce me, and Luke still can't get it up. Sorry again if you're reading, Luke. This, of course, is good because, well, it's better to have friends than enemies. Luke also surrendered the Wii to me, being as I like it more than he does. He refused to budge on the 360, though. I did stay to play some quick SmackDown vs. Raw matches, laced with anime discussion. Normal stuff for us. It'll take a lot more than a girl to undo our friendship. Returning home, Erica was fiddling around with my DS. She was on the option screen of EBA, and I don't think she had any idea what she was doing. I informed her of my Wikipedia-fueled findings about blind video games. Through the Google, I managed to find some freeware titles targeted to blind games, usually basic stuff like Solitaire. Her keyboard knowledge and such, however, wasn't up to the task of playing any of them well yet. That's when the phone began ringing. Picking it up, a stranger. Hello? Hold it. I know that stranger's voice. Megan. Chinkies. Megan looked up my number. Now, when I said she was stalking me in my last post, I was semi-joking, but now it's getting a bit odd. Of course, I should probably just go with it. Any logical person would do that. In the back of my mind, it still feels like a bad idea, though. I also went out again to buy some things for Erica's party. No gift yet. I'm still racking my brain for the perfect thing. I did buy some decorations and stuff, though. A surprise party would work out nicely. No, we go out somewhere. We return home, people yell, "Surprise!" Usual affair. I also bought her some new clothes, including some pajamas with ducks. So that's what happened today. However, I would like to discuss in this last paragraph that my updates are going to become more infrequent. The main reason being is that, as a replier to my thread said last night, this is becoming like some sort of blog for me. And I'll be damned if I ever have a blog. Even though I have Erica, that doesn't necessarily mean every day of my life is noteworthy. This doesn't mean I'm going to become as infrequent as, say, NurseCon. However, don't expect an update every day. I'll still probably go in the chat when I have time, and give them small updates since they seem to be the real people that care. Chat is aim chat Blindmute chat for the last time it will be advertised in a post of mine. The next time I'll give an update is probably on the 14th, the day of Erica's birthday blashstravaganza. That's a $2 word and I just made it up. Not like this is the end, just no daily updates anymore. She inquired about Luke's other girlfriends, if he had any problems. She said, maybe I'm not pretty enough, to which I just responded nicely to with, no, you're very pretty. Nice. Sick motorcycle, dude. Yeah, no, rev it again. Thanks.